In some ways, 1920 was Ruth's coming out party as a hitter, not only for the Yankees, but also with the league, as he extended his own home run record from 29 to 54. To understand how outrageous hitting 54 was, all you need to know is that he out-homered every single team in Major League Baseball except for one. One can only imagine the grief that Red Sox fans were feeling. The question for the 1921 season was if Ruth could hit the 50 mark again, or better yet, could he top the 54 he hit in 1920? This is a series about the King of Swing, and this is the 1921 season. Entering the 21 campaign, Ruth had firmly established himself as the game's biggest star, and if the awards as we know them today had been handed out back then, Ruth would already have quite the trophy case. But of course, they weren't, and that's why I began this video series on the Babe. I got to wondering, what awards would Ruth have won if we examined his career by modern standards? And thus far I've determined that Ruth deserved the Rookie of the Year award, he would have captured the Cy Young in 1916, and he would have already won 3 consecutive MVP awards. The AL MVP race would come down to 3 people: Ty Cobb, Harry Heilmann, and of course Ruth. It wasn't really close, but we want to give all 3 guys their just due. When looking at the numbers, it reminded me of what Yogi Berra said: it's like having deja vu all over again. In both 1920 and 21, Ruth ran away with basically everything. Whereas in 1920, Ruth Sisler and Speaker finished 1, 2, 3 in 11 statistical categories. In 21, it was a Ruth Heilmann Cobb order 8 times. You can see why these 2 seasons look eerily similar. As already noted, Ruth pretty much ran away with everything, but Heilmann had a great season, finishing second in almost half the categories that I analyzed. And of course, Ty Cobb, he seems to always have a great season. This is the 8 categories where they finished with the Ruth Heilmann Cobb order. All 3 of them finished with an OPS over 1,000, and Ruth's is just ridiculous at over 1,350. And here are the 5 categories where they finished with a Ruth Cobb Heilmann order. Their on-base percentage is just nuts. Ruth is at .512, Cobb .452, and Heilmann .444. Well, let's talk about our 3rd place finisher, the Georgia Peach. Cobb hit .389, had an on-base percentage of .452, and had a slug of .596. Hitting .389 for mere mortals would be an outstanding season, but not for Cobb. Cobb actually hit .400 on 3 occasions. Imagine that. Our runner-up is Harry Heilmann, and because I'm going to assume that a lot of us don't really know who he is, I threw in this quote from Ty Cobb. He once said, "People nowadays just don't realize how great a hitter Harry was. Next to Rogers Hornsby, he was the best right-handed hitter of them all." And his place in history has been firmly established. In 1999, the Sporting News named him as the 54th greatest player of all time, and during that same year, Sabre listed him at number 91. Heilmann just lit it up in 1921, collecting 237 hits en route to a .394 batting average. And when I got to looking at his career statistics, it was just amazing that every odd year he went on a rampage. From 1921 to 1927, he hit .394, .403, .393, and .398 in every odd year. But as great as his 21 season was, this was the year of the Babe. In fact, some have said this was the Babe's greatest year of all of them. And if you want to get into the nitty-gritty details, here's a great article on Sabres website titled Babe Ruth in 1921, recrowning baseball's greatest slugging season. But that article's got way too much information for a video like this. This is what you need to know. In 1921, Ruth set career marks with 168 RBIs, 177 runs scored, 16 triples, 457 total bases, and he even swiped 17 bags for good measure. But of course, the icing on the cake is that Ruth clubbed 59 home runs. This season was so historic that Ruth's 457 total bases is still the Major League record today. His 177 runs scored ties him for second all-time, and his RBI and home run totals also place him in the all-time top 10 best. And here's how Ruth set that Major League record of 457 total bases. He had 85 singles, 44 doubles, 16 triples, and 59 home runs. What an awesome season. And in case you're wondering how Ruth's home run total stacked up against the second place finishers, in 1921, Ruth hit 5 more than he did the year before, and the second place finishers did the same. So nobody really gained any ground on Ruth. He was still light years ahead of everyone else. For Ruth's record-setting season, we're going to give him another MVP award, and this brings his current tally to 4. This was the first time the Yankees won the American League pennant, securing a spot in the World Series. And this would turn out to be a year of a lot of first things. This was the first time the World Series was broadcast on radio. It was the first time the World Series was played entirely in one ballpark. That was at the Polo Grounds. And it was the first official Subway Series as the Yankees took on their rivals, the Giants. It was also the last time that the World Series was played in a best-of-9 format. The Yankees raced off to a 3-2 lead when Ruth got hurt. It's said that he had a possible infection in his arm and he tweaked his knee in Game 5. Ruth would not start the final 3 games and the Yankees would drop all 3, losing the series 5-3. In the end, Ruth hit .313, had an on-base percentage of .476, and a slug of .500. He did hit a home run, had 4 RBIs, and 2 stolen bases. But it was all for nothing as Ruth's Yankees fell short and they'd have to wait for the 1922 season. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy these videos. And if you do me a favor and subscribe so you'll know when the next video hits. And better yet, leave me a comment and tell me what you like about these videos. Thanks for watching.